Okay, Dev Diary, art and achievements. This one's pretty special because we're going to go through achievements, and I am going to rank the achievements for you one by one to say the ones that I think are creative and different and worth going for, and the ones that are the most annoying, the grindy ones, the world conquests. This is going to be a good tier list, guys. So this is usually one of the more boring Dev Diaries when they talk about the art. Usually you see it in game, you take it for granted, but a lot of work goes into creating these icons, these buttons, these little graphics, these portraits. But what they've done quite special with this is they've kind of shown how they go from an idea to an actual image in game, which I had no idea how it worked, so it's fascinating for me as well. Without giving too much away, here's a heavily zoomed out version of how a Miro board can look like, that an artist can work with. And yes, I was in charge of the focus trees and the plane designer for the DLC. Granted, I didn't make all the art. We also outsourced it. So here we go. So this gives an idea of what graphics are required for the plane designer, the new icons and images used for the focus tree. No word of a lie, this looks like it has a lot of work behind it. And once again, I always think this is an element that people take for granted. We color communicate with what's going on the board. All of them also have a little stamp on them to mark what prio it has, as well as the text section where CDs write what they want to communicate with the icon they request. Oh, do they explain these abbreviations? Have I skipped by that? Prio is prioritized. This is why we don't skip Dev Diaries, guys. We have to read every single bit of it. So with this, you communicate what needs to be done, what's high priority, what needs to be worked from here. We get it. So here's an example of a focus for the Italian focus tree in an early concept. So it's showing bits of art that already exist in the game and kind of what the final product is going to look like by mixing up different icons. The icon represents passers and use donkeys for carrying stuff in the rural areas of Italy. I need at least one donkey there, can be more. The donkeys can carry artillery or supplies. The wheat bundles could look cool at each side of the focus frame. And this is the finished product. You can see here, donkey boy with wheats and carrying supplies. The artillery was not included. Feels bad, man. There's another example which is a lot less to work with. Africa, silhouette, railroad, industry, giving ideas of what the finished product should look like, showing investment and infrastructure built across Africa. And we have a picture of the African continent with a factory and a railroad. What do you know? It's all there. One thing I think you also don't appreciate is when these icons are so unbelievably small, I think some of the detail is lost. And I feel like when I've ever upgraded my monitor and I've got a larger monitor, I look at these and I'm like, wow, there's bits of detail here that I never even realized were here. In short, this is a way of communicating with the team on how to construct ideas and turn them to actual graphics in game. So here we go, another guesswork here. It looks like this is how they're generating the wallpapers. This looks like the main title screen image that they're going to use. It shows planes dogfighting and these like early concepts, so little variation to have an idea how the finished product will look. Show a day one, a sunset one, a night one. Ooh. Showed slightly different colored versions with slightly different vibes going on. I can definitely see that the colored ones work out so much better. You know what the genius of this is that you forget about is there's no really any kind of reference point other than ideas lodged into your own brain. So they're not working like with a piece of art or an existing picture. It's kind of like all things blown from your imagination, which I think is fascinating in a way. In a weird way, it kind of reminds me of like AI generated images because those might use existing references of things that already exist. However, the finished product is something that's completely unique. And here we have a rendered version of the plane and the plane in the sky. Is this the finished version? I think we're pretty close. So there's a bunch of miscellaneous icons to represent different things in game. So we have like focus tree icons here, different advisors. Art, isn't it great? I kind of like that one at the bottom right with the face consuming more of the icon. Once again, I like the details that they add, but sometimes it's very hard to make out unless it's on a massive 4K screen. And more focus icons. You see, once again, when you play in the game, you're too tucked into the game, you're too absorbed by it. But if you look really closely, it's got these details here. Would you describe these as feathers? This looks like wheat. Wow, so much detail, so much art, so beautiful. And we have some portraits as well. Guys, absorb these portraits because these are the biggest you're ever going to see them. When you see them in game, they're so much smaller. And I feel like you can't appreciate them as much. But my goodness, are they absolutely beautiful. I remember I was at a PDX con. I think it was at 2018. I remember watching one of the Kaiserite devs making a portrait of a face based on a reference he had. And it was fascinating watching him construct it. Just shows and lets you appreciate how much work goes in just one of these portraits. Switzerland. And of course, Switzerland led by the brave, the courageous building. Ethiopia, dudes round a table. Amazing. And here we are, boys, back for another rendition of Tier List Back Gaming, where we rank the new achievements by Blood Alone and see if they're worth your time. They will be ranked based on creativeness, based on the challenge without becoming a grind, and also based on the fact if they require a world conquest. If you know from my experience, are strictly frowned upon. It's going to be difficult at this stage because sometimes it's hard to know what the focus trees will lead to, but I'll give my best assessment and I will say, is this going to be a world conquest? Is this going to be worth your time? Let's find out. All right, first of all, as Switzerland have 24 states, it doesn't specifically say if you need to remain democratic and have full support for the cantons. It doesn't actually say, so I'm presuming it doesn't. And if it's just a basic conquest as Switzerland, this one's dead easy. But it's kind of cool, I suppose. You get to actually play Switzerland and you get to have a good time. You know, I'm going to rank this quite high. At the end of the day, you're using the game mechanics. You're having a good, jolly good old time. You're doing what Switzerland would never do, and that's conquest. Boom. A tier. That could change at any point. Next up, as Switzerland, declare war on Germany and win. Oh, what is the definition of win here? That's going to be tough. I guess where they capitulate, I suppose. Once again, you're playing as Switzerland and you're eventually joining the Allies, I presume. But you don't have to win single-handedly, so it's not much of a grind. I feel for the most part, you take advantage of the mechanics quite well and you're actually having a good time. So once again, I am leaning towards an A tier for that because that one actually has challenge baked into it, but it doesn't have that kind of grind to it as well. Challenge, creativity. Yeah, I think for the most part, B is a little bit too easy. I think the 24 states one is pretty easy, so we'll rank it down just based on the overall challenge factor. Next up, Swiss cheese. As Switzerland annex 5 states that are not continuous with each other or Switzerland. I feel like you could do this one with the Germany one. All you've got to do is take a bunch of land that isn't all interconnected. Basically, this is the border gore achievement. It's kind of cool. It's kind of something you do on the back of one of the other achievements. Creativity is definitely there. You shall not pass. As Switzerland, win a defensive war without even losing the Western Swiss Alps, Eastern Swiss Alps, or Ticino. So I guess that's the westernmost states, the easternmost states, and the southernmost states, I'm presuming. So specifically, this is a defensive war. One of the cool things about Switzerland is you have the ability to kind of piss off either France, Germany, or Italy, and they will declare war on you if you break your neutrality. So it's going to be really cool for, like, say, Italy to declare war on you early, defensive war, and then potentially beat the Italians. This one is tricky. However, I feel like you could cheese it just solely by joining the Allies and then just winning World War II. But then again, it's still going to be very difficult to hold that ground for a long time. Ooh, I'm leaning towards an A tier. I think we have challenge there. We don't have the long grind. I think that is a very, very good achievement. The Lion that roared as Ethiopia, without being in a faction, forced the Italians to make peace again. I mean, this is pretty standard, isn't it? Play Ethiopia and get them to white peace. We've all done that in the base game, haven't we? However, I will let you know from playing Ethiopia at PDX Con, Ethiopia is a lot tougher than it once was. You can't rely on the AI bugging out now. The AI will come at you at full force and you will get bombed to hell. This is amazing. This is basically your test of By Blood Alone. This is your badge to say, I've played By Blood Alone enough. I have done one of the decent challenges in the game. As Haile Selassie, declare yourself the King of Kings and control Kenya and Tanzania. So Kenya is directly to the south of you. So Tanzania is directly south of you as well. So you've got to push all the way south. That's actually quite a lot of land. And the hardest part is controlling the entirety of the state. So that actually is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but overall, it's kind of part of the Ethiopia path. So in all fairness, I actually think that's good and it's a decent achievement. And I feel for the most part, it's not too much of a grind. Once again, that combination of creativity, but isn't requiring a massive grind, I think is really fun and that's really cool. It's time for Africa, as Ethiopia found the African Union and have it encompass at least 13 different countries with capitals in Africa. Wow. Do you know what? I think that is an S tier. Once again, winning as Ethiopia. This is tricky and it's just borderline before it becomes a grind. This is definitely an S tier. Crusader Kings 4. Oh my god, so many Crusader Kings. Take Jerusalem as Ethiopia and move the capital there. Move the capital there? Oh, this must be like a secret decision. That is so cool. I guess it must be a decision that fires when you own Palestine. It must be. I can't think of any reason why. I think for the most part, if you are going to push to Sudan and Egypt, and you manage to get through there, which I'll admit is a bit of a grind, I think you deserve this one. This was a confusing one for me because I don't know where to rank it. Because it all depends on how difficult this decision is to fire to move it to Jerusalem, because this is basically forming like a beta Israel, isn't it? This must be like a secret thing. I think for secretness and spiciness and creativity, it's definitely an A tier. I feel like it's very close to an S tier though. But there's a truth is that actually might be like a massive grind and might not be worth your time. Oof, I don't know. We'll see. Red Sea. As Ethiopia go communist and take all the states that border the Red Sea. I'm going to have a little quick brainstorm right now. Where is the Red Sea? So the Red Sea is here. Wow, okay. So same again, you need to push through Sudan, Egypt, basically wrap around Saudi Arabia and Yemen. Ooh, that's going to be so difficult because you're going to have to declare on Saudi Arabia and Yemen, and your front line's already tight as it is to begin with. Ooh, so leaning towards a bit of a grind, that one. And going communist, I don't know how difficult that is compared to the other paths. I feel like the easier path is where you leave the country and you go into exile, but your country still exists so you can get guns from the League of Nations. I think for the most part, because I'm a little bit lost on that one and I'm really experienced it, I'm going to go beta. Just going to put it dead in the center. I need to play that one to know how good it's going to be. Holy Roman and an Empire. As the Pope, restore Rome. My understanding is playing as the Pope, as Italy, was going to be like a hidden path, but it seems like at this point they've just decided that no, it's not going to be anymore. It's going to be a main part of the game, and it's going to be obvious that it exists because there's an achievement behind it. For the most part, I guess that's kind of cool, I guess. Is it a grind? No, because you're Italy. You're kind of strong, I suppose. I'm going to give that one a B tier. For the most part, you just pick focuses, so you go for the Pope path, and then at that point, you do some conquest. And as Italy, you're a decent power, so it's actually kind of okay, I suppose. I'd imagine I have a lot of fun with that one, but overall, I'm not sure how I feel about it. As Italy, occupy New York, Chicago, and Hawaii. Here we go, boys. We're moving towards world conquest territory. I guess you're just controlling America, I guess. I suppose there's a way you could cheese this by, like, say, invading Mexico early on, maybe, or trying to just take out the United States from the earliest part of the game. But where would you invade from as Italy? You're kind of locked into the Mediterranean. I think this is a good balance between a challenge that is probably not that difficult to cheese. Ooh, I'm so on the fence with this one. I suppose you would have to, like, maybe join the Axis early and then do a naval invasion, but then would you be able to get the range? Ooh. You know what, guys? I think this is the first one I'm going to put as a C tier. Listen, I like the challenge. I like the creativity of it. Oh, pizza, yeah. However, I feel like we're moving towards world conquest territory. It's a matter of taking out the UK really quickly by having a good navy as Italy, then immediately doing a naval invasion of the United States. But usually at that point, the United States has got quite a lot of divisions, so it is an absolute almighty grind. Ooh, that one makes me very nervous, but we'll see. Collect all of the Romes as Italy continue holding on to the first Rome and gain the second and the third Rome. So first Rome is Rome. The second Rome is Constantinople, which is Istanbul at the start of the game. And the third Rome is Moscow. So getting Turkey doesn't seem much of a difficult thing. But then taking out the Soviet Union. You know what? I think this is a decent challenge. You're actually playing Italy. You're actually playing it to a degree where you're taking out a major power. I feel like the challenge is there. I think that's actually a decent one. Where overall, it doesn't become a world conquest. I'm going to give this one an A tier. Nothing personal, Adolf. As Italy, take Austria before the Anschluss and never enter a faction with fascist Germany before 1945. I wonder why it says before 1945. So I don't know the consequences by doing denying them the Anschluss. I don't know the consequences of that. My presumption would be Germany would be upset with you, but it just kind of seemed like you can still join the German faction. This to me looks like one of those smaller achievements, so I don't think it requires much of a challenge. I'm going to say you can cheese this one. And I feel my urge to rank this quite lower because I feel like this is one of those achieved achievements. Next one, not today. As Communist Italy, save Gramsci from the brink of death and make him the leader of Italy and form the Italian National Union. I'm going to put my hands in the air and say, I have no idea how difficult it is because you'd have to go the communist path of Italy, which is super ahistorical. And who is this guy and how do you save him and who is he all about? I have not the foggiest idea. I think I'll just stick that on beta in the middle because I really have not the foggiest idea. This time, it will stick. As an allied nation, in a faction with democratic Britain, enforce a peace deal on Germany that disarms the Rhineland and makes it a demilitarized zone. You're just playing a normal game, basically. You're playing as the Allies. You're being in alliance with the UK. And in the peace conference, you say you want to demilitarize the Rhineland. Again. Yeah, in that case, I feel once again, you're just playing the game. It's one of those, oh, I'm just playing the game, so I'll get the achievement on the way. Next one, buy beer alone. As Germany control Oh, Bosphorus. All right, I think I see where I'm going with this. These are all historical states that are somehow connected to beer, because we've got Guinness here as well, directly or through a faction member. So Budweiser is Czechia, which you're going to control anyway. And then the Chinese Brewing Company is this one, which I'll not pronounce. And then Guinness, I presume, is the Republic of Ireland. I'm going to take a guess at that. I actually don't know. This is way outside of my understanding. It's fiddly, I guess. Definitely tricky by owning a part of China. But I suppose in all fairness, as Germany, you'd have to go to war versus Japan, wouldn't you? Because Japan's not going to be in the same faction as you. So it looks like it's in the northern part of China. Is this the area that the German Empire can request of China? This is one of these ones where I feel like this could be a world conquest. Imagine you could possibly cheese it by dismantling the Axis and then joining the Eastern faction with Japan. Because you're going to control Czechoslovakia as somewhere or another, because the one that your border. China is going to be a little bit more difficult, but you could control it through being with Japan in the same faction. And then Guinness, I suppose you can just do a naval invasion of Ireland. You know what? I think this is tricky. It looks daunting, but I think this one is actually going to be tricky enough to see where it's actually any good. I'm going to go with an A tier on this one. Once again, there's a part of me that reserves judgment because there might be some tricky technicalities that I'm not aware of, but that just seemed kind of good. By merit alone, promote a unit commander to a general and max level. Promote a unit commander to... So basically a division officer to a general, and then max him out to max level. This is the Chinese achievement, isn't it? Having a field marshal at level 9. I feel like it's that one again. Oh, I like its existence. However, I don't like the fact that this is going to be like an absolute crazy grind. Because to get level 9 generals and field marshals is a pain in the ass. I'm presuming that's what it means, but I could be wrong. And in that case, I'm going to go with a C tier on this one. Leaning towards D tier, I really am. I was expecting some clear-cut world conquest achievements with this one. But it doesn't seem to be the case. But this was the biggest grind so far, no shadow of a doubt. As Brazil capture Rome with paratroopers, snakes on a plane. What? Let's think about that for a second. So I don't think you can power drop from Sardinia or Corsica into Rome. I think it's too far. So technically you'd have to control like a southern part of Italy and then power drop on top. I guess I want to play Democratic Brazil now and just join the Allies and see if I can do this one just for the laugh. I like the novelty of it. It's not a mind-blowingly big achievement. But guys, listen, I think the PDX have listened to us. There doesn't appear to be any world conquest achievements in here. Hallelujah, celebration, woo, woo. We finally did it, lads. So I was reserving D tier for those classic world conquest achievements, you know, like the Turkey one. Austria-Hungary, you know, the ones where it says you have to require some obscure state that's a million miles away in a peace conference. And surprisingly, there's only one achievement based around peace conferences too, they're remilitarizing the Rhineland again. But anyway, final art. We have here 3D art for Battle for the Bosphorus. And we have some, look, these Italian soldiers, I'm guessing, and maybe Ethiopian African divisions. T-posing soldiers, 07. Beautiful art. Beautiful. Are these... I guess these are Ethiopian troops, maybe? I'm taking a guess. I really don't know. Cute tanks. Oh, Ethiopian little tank boyos. Adorable planes. Adorable. Oh my god, some of these like more modern jet planes. Ooh, they look really good. So as far as I'm aware, there was only like one model for jet planes for the modern aircraft for Germany. It looks to me like now we've got like maybe one here. These ones are different nationalities. For some reason, when I had a quick look at this one, I thought that was a German design, but it's American. Looks like we've got more here as well. Wow, modern planes. Are we going to reach the modern era now and use jet planes? Will we? Will we? Maybe, maybe not. This is the last dev diary for By Blood Alone. Dev team, PDX staff, Hearts of Iron 4, all the other boyos that work in the back end. I salute you. Thank you for creating a fantastic DLC. And the last task is you play the game, okay? You're going to play the game and you're going to love it. You're going to love it. Maybe, hopefully, maybe not. We'll see. Guys, it's been great. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.